Life at 50 Degrees. Watch on BBC iPlayer.
Oh boy, trouble at Britain's banking upstart. Yes, shares of Metro Bank plunge on concerns about the state of its finances. So the big question is, how worried should customers be? And digging up controversy, how America's quest for clean energy is pitting miners against environmentalists and native communities. Hey, hello everybody, I'm Aaron Heslehurst. Happy Friday and welcome to the World Business Report. Give me about 13 minutes and I'll try to give you a fascinating snapshot of all the latest in the world of business and money. We're going to start right here in the UK, where there are growing concerns about the finances of Metro Bank. Now, the lender, it's been trying to reassure investors and, of course, its 2.7 million customers after its shares plunged on Thursday. Now, at one point, they were down by almost a third. Metro Bank, it's the youngest lender on Britain's main streets or high streets. It's launched back in 2010 in the wake of course, the global financial crisis. But it's had a series of financial issues. And just yesterday, Thursday, there were reports that it's urgently trying to raise up to £600 million, or about 730 million bucks, just to shore up its finances. Well, look, let's get more on this. Francis Coppola is independent banking analyst and joins us. Francis, good to see you. Francis, I guess the question is, what's gone wrong here? Because I believe you have said this is a similar situation to the Midland Bank and its situation some 30 years ago. Just explain that.
Yeah, about 30 years ago, Midland Bank was a bank that had very little capital, was barely making any money, and because it didn't have much in the way of capital or money really, it was finding it difficult to make any money. And I was involved in a project at the time to try and help it to make as good use as it could of the little capital it had got in order to grow itself and get out of the mess it was in. But in the end, the solution turned out to be a takeover. It was taken over by HSBC.
Oh, there you go. Also, I believe Metro's trying to sell a third of its loan book, and I'm kind of wondering, who's out there? Who would buy up those assets?
Well, it's talking to the big lenders at the moment, to NatWest, to Barclays, those kind of banks, which already have very big mortgage books and potentially might take those on. It'll all be a question of price. These are good quality mortgages that it's selling. They're not subprime, but nonetheless, this is a fire sale, and those lenders will be looking to acquire them at a good price. And that might not work out too well for Metro Bank, but it does look like a kind of a desperate last measure to sell a third of their mortgage book.
Yeah, wow. Okay, let's end on the most important question, because I'm one of them. How safe are the retailers? How safe is their money?
Anybody who has deposits in Metro Bank that are below the Financial Services Compensation Scheme's limit of £85,000 don't need to worry at all. Their deposits are completely safe. Anybody who's got deposits over that limit just might want to think about whether to move some of their money out. But anybody below that limit, no, there's no need to worry at all.
Okay, Francis, a real pleasure. Thanks for your thoughts. Have a lovely weekend. We'll talk to you soon. Hey, let's move on, because the British pub chain, Weatherspoon, it's seen its operating profit. Boy, it's rocketed over the past year as it just continues to adjust to, post-COVID trading. Like-for-like sales, they're up nearly 13% on 2022, with food sales, they're especially doing strong. They're up nearly 18%. It added up to an operating profit of £107 million, or about 130 million bucks over the past year. That was more than 4 times the profit from the previous year. Jocelyn Pauly is a partner at Gowling WLG, and she is co-head of its retail and leisure sector, put my teeth in, and joins us. Good to see you, Jocelyn. Let's start with this. Weatherspoons, and again, especially for our international audience, this is a pub chain renowned for its, cheaper drinks and its food. I'm just wondering, is the cost of living crisis, is that making Weatherspoons a little bit more attractive than perhaps pricier rivals?
I well suspect that could be the case, yes. I mean, Weatherspoons aren't alone in having published some really positive growth reports this year. Some of their rival chains, if you look to the likes of Green King or Citigroup pubs, they've also had some really positive results. But I do think Weatherspoons keep innovating, keep moving with the market. They've got really popular options like the clubs that they offer, and they've diversified a bit as well into things like gift cards and hotels. I think all of that is really helping give them a strong position in the market.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the Weatherspoons, the company has offloaded some of its pubs just to keep, obviously, in check with its costs and reduce debt. But is that a little snapshot of sort of highlights the picture of just how tough it is to be in the pub industry?
Yeah, absolutely. Their property portfolio will be something that they are constantly looking at to assess strategically, are they in the right places, the right markets, consolidating their estate to make sure they haven't got too many pubs operating within a local market and unnecessarily competing against each other. But I think it's really wise strategy from their board to look really critically at that estate and take action where they see it's not working for them.
And, I was looking at some of the stats here, and it's really interesting, Jocelyn, because these young'uns nowadays, when they go out, a lot of them aren't drinking alcohol at all. In fact, I was looking at the numbers, just over a quarter of young adults won't drink alcohol on a night out. Now, some will say that's a good thing, but not a good thing for the industry.
I agree. It's something they're going to have to adapt to as time moves on, as these generations grow up. I think we're definitely seeing, as you say, that generational shift, and those percentages may well grow as other generations come in beneath them and our current Gen Z progress and move up and get older. And I think Weatherspoons are well placed to take on that challenge because they've proved in the past that they do listen to what people need and people want. They're very clear on their position in the market. Their brand saturation and brand recognition across the UK is about as high as you can get it. So if those generations still grow up knowing it's a good place to go to meet friends and drink the kinds of drinks they want to drink, and importantly as well, eat, including breakfast, then there's no reason why they shouldn't continue to prosper.
Indeed. Well, let's end it on that point. Jocelyn, Paulie, a real pleasure. Have a lovely weekend. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
OK, hey, let's head over to the US now, and a battle over certainly one of the world's most sought-after resources, lithium. Of course, it is a key component for many electric vehicle batteries, and America, it's trying to scale up domestic production of that metal. But as our tech reporter James Clayton reports from Nevada, that's pitting miners against environmentalists and Native American communities.
The U.S. cavalry chased the people into this area right here where the mine is being dug up at the moment, and they were massacred. It's a tragedy. It should be deemed a historical site. That should stop the mining. Unfortunately, the corporations didn't hear that.
These local tribe members have protested for years, trying to stop a lithium mine that they say is on the site where their ancestors were murdered. In March, they lost as the diggers moved in. Beneath the sagebrush here could be one of the biggest lithium deposits in the world. This is Thacker Pass, and in March, work began on getting it out of the ground.
But this mine is different, mainly because many of its supporters claim to be environmentalists and say that the mine could play at least some role in tackling climate change.
Global leaders across the world have committed to electric vehicles, which lithium is essential for. This is Tim Crowley, representative of Lithium Americas, who owns this mine.
Lithium is essential. It is the key component to getting high energy storage batteries into our market. Right now, we're completely dependent on fossil fuels for the energy we utilize every day.
But there are environmentalists who believe the answer to tackling climate change isn't yet more mines. John heads up a local environmental charity.
A mining operation is, in fact, very damaging to the environment. And we've got to be very careful how we permit these things, because this is their ancestral land. It's being taken from them yet again.
Opponents to this mine think that this is just the beginning, that this whole area will become one massive mining district. And when you ask Lithium Americas, it's pretty clear that that's exactly what they want. I know that there are concerns that this whole area, which is stunningly beautiful, might end up becoming a mining district.
If the United States is going to be self-sufficient, there has to be more. There has to be more developments.
The people at this protest are already looking at how they can strategise to protest against other mines planned in the area.
Basically, this one patch in the middle, that's the only place not claimed right now, and that's really scary.
But it looks like mining in the name of saving the planet may only be just beginning. James Clayton, BBC News, Nevada.
Well, let's stay with the environment because the former boss of the global consumer giant Unilever has criticised British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak for rowing back on green commitments. Now, Mr. Sunak, he signed off, you know this, he signed off on a major new oil and gas project. He's also pushed back targets on banning petrol or gasoline cars. Paul Polman, who is now an advocate for a sustainable business, says that this will cost the UK more in the long run.
Unfortunately, I have to say he's wrong. And many people in his own party have called out that he's wrong. Many people in the business community, including the car industry, for example, Ford, just to name one, have clearly called out that he's wrong. Not surprisingly, the opposition says he's wrong. But I also believe that increasingly the population or citizens at large are wrong. So we cannot run the future of humanity based on short-term election cycles. And yes, we've always been very clear and transparent that any conversion will require investments, but that is the task of a politician to explain why that is the right thing to do, but also to explain that actually if we don't make these investments, the cost would be much higher. I would argue that in the UK already now, the cost of food has significantly increased, and part of that reason for the increase is exactly climate change that we need to get rid of.
And of course, you can get more on the whole net zero debate and hear the full interview with Paul Polman on my show, Talking Business Weekly, with me, of course, right here on BBC News. It first kicks off later this evening, 11:30 UK time, and then we bleed it to death over the course of the week. So there you go. Let me just touch on some of the other stories making headline news. Hey, that feud between Elon Musk and financial regulators, it is escalating. Wall Street's watchdog, that's the Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, is investigating the world's richest man over his $44 billion takeover of Twitter, now known, of course, as X. On Thursday, it revealed it's taking legal action against him for failing to provide them with information. Hey, staying with that bloke, yeah, another of Mr. Musk's big brands, Tesla, is cutting its US prices for its Model 3 and Model Y cars. They've been cut by around 3 or 4%, depending on how you slice those numbers. It's only a month since the company slashed prices for its premium Model S and Model X cars. Tesla's trying to contend with a slowing EV market and fend off new players in that electric market. And Kenya's President William Ruto will ask China for a $1 billion loan to complete stalled road construction projects when he travels to Beijing this month. His deputy said, he announced it on Friday, the president will also ask the Chinese government to give the East African nation more time to repay the debts it's servicing. That's it. Follow me on X. X me, I'll X you back. You can get me at BBC Aaron. I'll see you soon. Ta-da.
BBC News, bringing you different stories from across the UK.